SJ, welcome to Muskogee Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ, Stongo, Gary Fife, Jahu Jifkados, along with
Liz Gray.
We are here on Muskogee Radio here on this wonderful morning. Everybody survived the floods, I hope, and they're finding ways to deal with that craziness there. It felt like it was going to go on for about 40 days.
Right.
And,
right.
And we'll wake up and we're on the top of Mount Ararat or something like that. Okay, well, let's get on with it. Today we've got a couple things to share. Liz had the chance to do an interview with the National Indian Gaming Commission outgoing commissioner, Jonodev Chaudihuri, and she's going to be sharing that interview with us today. And also in the second portion of our program, we'll be speaking with Mr. Robert Bible, who is the president of the College of the Muskogee Nation. We'll find out how the school's doing, what its plans are. And he got a recent award, and we'll kind of see how the college is doing theirs. But first of all, let's get on with number one here. Let's see, we've got your interview in a machine and it's all ready to go. So tell us a little bit about it.
So Jonodev Chaudihuri has been named the MCN ambassador. This is a new position, kind of, they based it off of some of the historical representation in Washington. So I guess they decided to name him as ambassador. So I got a chance to talk to him because I've been following this story for a while. It first appeared in December, and then it kind of was left vacant. And so here recently they just named him. So I was kind of excited to talk to him. So this is...
Now, he is also the outgoing head of the National Indian Gaming Commission,
right.
Too. Did you get a chance to chat with him a little about that?
Not really. I was catching him on his last days. It was like his last functioning day as National Indian Gaming, Commission chairman, and he was going from meeting to meeting, I guess, just tying up loose ends and making sure everything was going. I tried to look up, I guess, like who his successor was going to be, and I couldn't find any information, so I think that
doesn't surprise me. Somehow that commission has been kind of closed mouth about everything.
Yeah, I don't know like what is going on, so that's something to look out for.
Okay, well, we've got your piece ready to go. Anything else you want to share about it?
No, that's it.
Okay.
The Muskogee Creek Nation has decided to focus on their presence in Washington, D.C., with the creation of an ambassador position. In May, MCN announced they had filled the contractual position with National Indian Gaming Commission Chairman Jonodev Chaudihuri.
Stongo XG. My name is Jonodev Chaudihuri. I'm a proud citizen of the Muskogee Creek Nation. I'm also Mvskoke, a member of the Muskogee Bear Clan, and historically, my grounds blood-wise are Arbika and Greenleaf, with ties to Hickory grounds. But in my adult life, I've been honored to take medicine and participate in Nuyaka's ceremonial grounds. I personally, in my life, followed my mother and my father in my dad's academic career. So I grew up largely in Arizona, but I always maintained ties to Oklahoma and Okmulgee.
Chaudihuri was nominated when the position was created in December, but was not appointed at the time. Through amendments of the legislation, the ambassador would no longer need confirmation by National Council, but be contracted by the principal chief for the length of his term.
I'll directly report to the principal chief, so even before the end of his term, nothing is guaranteed. But certainly my term is through the end of the chief's term. I absolutely know that there are no guarantees after that. The fact that Creek Nation even considered creation of this ambassador position is an exercise of its sovereignty. And so I very much am mindful of how this position fits into the larger effort of Muskogee Creek Nation to strengthen its sovereignty and advance opportunities for Muskogee citizens. So when I was asked if I would consider being part of the process for a discussion with the National Council to consider legislation to create the position, I was honored because I recognized how important such a position is to exercising diplomatic functions that any true sovereign nation exercises. So I was happy to participate in dialogues about how that position could be structured, not knowing if I'd be named to the position or not. Ultimately, through the legislative process, a position was created. I wasn't named, and frankly, I'm thankful that I wasn't named when I was, because I had very important work to continue doing at the National Indian Gaming Commission.
Chaudihuri's official term as NIGC chairman expired in April 2018, but has been in holdover status until his successor was named by the president.
I would have been honored at any point in my career to serve the nation, but given the work, the importance of the work at NIGC that I've been doing to serve Indian country, it would have been difficult had it played out in any other way, but it's time to fulfill what I believe is an important part of my path to serve Creek Nation.
The MCN ambassador will reside in Washington, D.C. and act as the messenger for the nation to the federal government, something Chaudihuri has experienced during his time at NIGC.
I fully recognize my role under this position. My role is not to be a decision maker. My role is to be a communicator of the will of the people and the will of the people expressed through Muskogee Creek Nation leadership, namely the principal chief in conjunction with the legislative body. In my experience here in Washington, D.C. as a federal decision maker, I know how critical it is for all tribal nations to speak with one voice when they engage in nation-to-nation communication with the federal government. Speaking with one voice gives tribal nations power. Speaking with one voice gives clarity of purpose, and most importantly, among folks that may be on your side already and want to help you, speaking with one voice gives a clear ask, as they say in D.C. A clear ask meaning if you speak with one voice and say precisely what you're advocating for, it makes it that much easier for your allies, whether they're in executive offices or congressional offices, to help you.
Inspiration for the legislation attributed Chito Harjo, who traveled to protest allotment in front of Congress. He and a group had been elected by tribal members to represent the nation. Chaudihuri explained his role in relation to the historical figure and whether citizens will feel as though their voices and concerns are being heard.
I certainly hope so. I mean, even without the benefit of a position, I have always been fundamentally proud of being a Creek citizen, and I've always seen myself, as frankly all of us should, as a diplomat for the nation in every interaction that I've had. Historically, we had diplomats, we had orators, we have an incredible Creek tradition of oration, and that flows from great leaders from history to today. And those leaders include folks like Chito Harjo or Hobofa Yehola. Those folks knew the power, knew the haliswa, knew the medicine that comes with speaking with a clear voice. And all I want to do in this position is speak with a clear voice on behalf of the leadership whose role ultimately is to speak on behalf of the people. I'm certainly going to do whatever I can to listen to tribal leadership, but also communicate anything I hear from my fellow citizens to tribal leadership in terms of what is going on the ground. My job won't be a decision maker. My job will be to carry the voice of tribal leadership. But Jito Hardjo was an incredible leader. When he addressed the U.S. Senate Select Committee on the dangers of allotment, he did so not only as a spokesperson, but he did so as a citizen. And I think that's something that we all should be thinking of as citizens, but in terms of doing it in a formal way, given the formal structure of our nation today, the creation of the ambassador position as an embodiment of legislation, I think is a smart way to go. I welcome getting into the ring and first order of business, sitting down with Principal Chief, as well as Second Chief and the National Council, and hearing from them what the priorities are that we need to focus on. I certainly know in my services as chairman of National Indian Gaming Commission, on any given day there are 100 issues that impact all of Indian country that we could be working on. But there is only so much you can do on a given day to target your efforts so that you maximize the positive benefits to Indian country. And although I may personally be able to rattle off a list of issues that I'm aware of that are impactful in D.C., I'm more important in hearing what Creek Nation will think will be the best use of my service as ambassador to advocate for the nation. I want to be as effective
we raise our glass to
during
you,
this period
our
as I
favorite
can
Blue
be
Steve.
and make the
Enjoy
most of
another
it.
classic
The
hit
issues
on
that
106.3
Creek Nation is
FM, The
advocating
Brew.
for, frankly, are profoundly important, and they're important first for Creek people, but the sovereignty that Creek Nation is trying to advance is important for all of Indian country. I'm going to do whatever I can during my term, and we'll just see what happens after that.
Advocacy runs in the family for Chaudihuri. During her lifetime, his mother Jean, perhaps best known as the author of A Sacred Path, The Way of the Muskogee Creeks, provided her son with what he would carry down his own path.
Mom used to tell me, whatever gifts you have, they don't belong to you. And those gifts are a test, and that test is how well are you going to use whatever's been given to you for the betterment of the community. And I always think about Mom's teachings, and I've done my best to apply them in my life, and time will tell if I've done enough.
Chaudihuri has also served as the MCN Supreme Court judge. He will be working separately in Indian law while serving as the MCN ambassador until his term expires at the end of the year.
Okay, you sound like you had an interesting discussion with the man.
I did. There was a lot of interesting discussion that didn't make it into that recording. Yeah, I mean, we talked from here and back type of stuff, because he was a Supreme Court judge. He was a Supreme Court judge, I believe, from 2006 to 2012. So he faced a lot, and one of the questions that I asked him was, the nation has a tendency, Creek Nation has a history of, not to say not getting along, but having their own opinions, and those opinions not being one voice. And so that's what he was talking about, having one voice and, trying to have a solid message to have.
Yeah. Well, you as a reporter, and myself, of course, have known that there is quite a variety of opinion out there among the Creek Nation. Sometimes they snarl at us. Well, did he actually talk about any time he might be back here in the nation?
He did not. He didn't. I know that he actually was here previously whenever they made the position. Like the position, what had happened was in December, the position was created, and then with the nomination, because he was at first going to be nominated for this position, and that was kind of like the legislation that was going to pass through. And I spoke with the sponsor of the bill, and they said that they had just amended it to be a contractual position since it's under the principal chief. So they changed it up a little bit because whenever, I think it was December's National Council meeting, they postponed it indefinitely, and in that time they amended it to be a contractual position.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you've got enough material. Perhaps we'll do a part 2 with him.
Yeah, he had a lot of family talk.
Okay, we'll find out where his folks are from, whether he really comes home and eats sofky and stuff like that. Okay, well, please stay with us here on Muskogee Radio. We'll take a break here, and then we will be back with Mr. Robert Bible, the president of the College of the Muskogee Nation. He'll be filling us in on how the school's doing and where it's going. So please stay with us.
I started doing it when I was 11. I wanted to be just like my big brother. And some of my friends were already doing it. We got hooked fast. I just can't get enough. I'm Jacob, and I'm addicted to playing the drums.
There's lots of stuff that makes it cool to be Native. Doing meth isn't one of them. Find something better to do. Check out ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Hear that? That's the sound of hope being killed by meth. Methamphetamine use is causing huge problems in our community. Hear that? That's the sound of something you can do about it. Events like rodeo, res ball, and family time can help keep kids away from meth.
Talk to your kids. Keep our culture alive. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Learn more at ncai.org.
Welcome back to Muskogee Radio here on The Brew, 1240 AM, 106.3 FM, and drop by. You can find us all actually online at 1240thebrew.com. So if you got some folks out of state who want to listen to the show, that's the way they can do it. Okay, we'd like to welcome to the studio Mr. Robert Bible, president and head honcho of the College of
Want to buy
Muskogee
it, trade
Nation.
it, sell it, or give it away? Listen to
Tradio, get out of
Tradio,
here.
weekdays at 8:30 a.m. right here on The Brew.
Okay, we've got a couple of computer things we have to deal with. The boss is gone, and he left it set like this, and so we might run into those from time to time. Just disregard them. Anyway, welcome, Mr. Bible. We appreciate you making time to get down and chat with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, now we have, first of all, you have been named to an award recently, so let's start there.
Well, okay, recently I was named the American Indian College Fund Tribal College University's Honoree of the Year, and it's an award that goes to individuals within the tribal college system or Indian country, and it's on leadership or their contributions to within Indian country and for our students. So this happened up in Billings, Montana. We had a banquet, and I was presented with the award, and so it was a humbling experience, and I was very honored to have received it. And when I was up there on stage to look out into the audience and see all my colleagues and friends, any one of those could have been up in my spot, and we just interchanged, because there's a lot of people that do the same thing I do every day and deserve that recognition. So yeah, it was an honor, but it's really it was, for me, it's more of a team honor for our college, because
that's nice that we get that recognition. And apologies to our listeners and Mr. Bible for our computer stepping into our program again. We'll have to make them pay for that, or else give us a break on the charge here. Now, first of all, we have noticed that was about 3 years ago the college gained its accreditation.
Yes,
so legitimizing it, so to speak.
Yes, we of course we started in 2004. I have to start at the beginning. In 2004, it started the process. Dr. James King had done a thesis paper on tribal colleges and universities while attending University of Minnesota. Brought that paper and vision to the tribe, I believe in the 70s, And then finally in 2004, Dr. King, and there's a lot of people that were involved in this process. So, but brought that the vision into reality. And so in 2004, we opened our doors up over off of Mission. We had purchased the old Social Security building, and that's where the offices were. Our students attended on campus at OSU IT. And so the accreditation process that's where we started there. We became a candidate for accreditation in 2012. And so what that did for us at that point was once you become a candidate, that makes our students eligible for Title IV funding, financial aid, BIE funding. And so we started making a transition plan from OSU IT to our own campus. In 2011, we opened up our first building on our campus, and it was a 22,000 square foot building. And then as we went on down and started developing our next buildings and our student housing, we received our full accreditation in 2016. And so our students can transfer from our institution to any of the mainstream state institutions.
Now, let me take a second here, and perhaps you could explain. I know you just started here on what accreditation really means. I laughingly use the word legitimized you, but is that essentially kind of what it did?
It does. All the tribal colleges, and there are 37 tribal colleges throughout the United States. Okay, we are held to the same standards as the mainstream institutions. So the region that we're in, the North Central, we go to Chicago and for our accreditation. So they have a board, and we have to go up and basically defend our standards. And so it's the same process as OSU goes through, the University of Oklahoma, Tulsa University, any of those. So we're held to the same standards, meaning that our students are getting the same instruction at our level as they would if they went to another institution.
So the credits that they gained in are
Yes.
recognized by these other schools?
They are, and we try to work on some agreements for our students, some articulation agreements with other institutions to where, like a 2x2, they'll take our, say, degree in Native American Studies and transfer it on over. If you kind of look at some of the other mainstream institutions, there is that kind of movement that these institutions they do offer Native American Study degrees, and so that's an easy transition for our students. So back probably about 8 years ago, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, there was an article about OSU system having the largest Native enrollment in the state. Well, that was because we felt was because of our students, and because we had at the time we averaged about 200 students a semester. So if you add that on to Native students, because if you look at the only 14% of Native Americans have a college degree. So when you have this transition, and our students, when we started the college in 2004, the retention rate at OSU IT was 2% for Native students.
Ooh.
And so after a few years, it got up to about 38%, and it goes up, fluctuates up and down. But what that tells us is that our students come to our institution. We're an open enrollment, meaning that you don't have to have a 22 ACT to get into the institution, or 24. We get students that come in, and it may take them a while. They take some zero-level courses, which I took some when I was back in the 70s. But I look at those as opportunities for our students, and it might take 1 or 2, 3. But if you look at our last graduation class, we just had in past April, it was our 11th class. We had 54 graduates. And so would those students have gone to a mainstream? Yeah, some of them would have. But would they have graduated? That's the key. So we feel like our students are getting these opportunities, and trying to change that, because we have a lot of first generation students. I was a first generation. A lot of our staffs are first generation, and so we kind of relate to our students and encourage them to continue on.
Oh, I had a question with, first of all, great story of perseverance starting in the 70s, and then, you know, the acceleration from being at OSUIT to where we're at now. My question is, does the college have any plans of maybe going bigger, you know, of becoming accredited to, you know, provide bachelor's degrees?
Well, yes, that would be in our future plans. I mean, when we started, and some, if you look at some colleges, the developing colleges, they may start out with, 15, 20 degrees, but our theory was, let's start out with a few and do it well and build from there. And I think Dr. King, they did a feasibility study to start out our first 4 degrees. And then here recently, starting in this fall, we're adding 3 more degrees. We're adding a natural resources degree, criminal justice, which we're transitioning the police science over to criminal justice, and then we have a general studies degree. And the reasoning on that is sometimes our students will come to our institution for a year to get their basics out of the way and then transfer out. So we're trying to make them, give them more opportunities to stay longer, because we want our students to graduate, 1, 2, they leave our institution debt-free. We do not do student loans. And so then they could go into the other institutions. And down the road, yes, but it's not like you just decide to offer a bachelor's degree, because there's a process within HLC. We had to show them, that we have the curriculum for it, the staff for it, and it has to go through a process of approvals, just like our accreditation process original. Right. So yes, down the road, I don't know, it'll be in my tenure as I'm getting that age, but yes, I can see them adding more degrees. Our strategic plan, our campus site plan, we started out with just 15 acres, and now we have approximately 40 acres. We have 2 buildings. We've already have done the infrastructure for the 3rd building. We just need the funding. We've already got the parking lot, the geothermal wells. We have housing. We just added 5 more units. Now we have 21. We're getting ready to build a small building for our natural resource program on the other side of our campus, on the end of our campus. So yes, down the road, we're trying to lay that foundation for our future students who hopefully can come in and go through the entire 4 years.
I'm looking to hear your response to a criticism I once read. I think it was a Facebook thing, that the school was just either going to train you to be a security guard or a pit boss in the gambling casinos. Yeah. And my time wandering around over there, and I saw a lot more going on. But right. How would you respond to someone who made those criticisms?
Well, there's, everyone's going to have their opinion, obviously, and we respect that. That's part of higher education, is having your opinion and or acknowledging others' opinions. And so, but like yourself, you came to our campus and you can see what's going on. What the degrees, when they first did the feasibility study, was okay. They wanted the light horse to have an associate's degree. So yeah, that was brought on by the tribe, or our citizens wanted that, and so we do the training for our light horse, or provide the education for them. The gaming, obviously, it's a big industry, and we've had some cohort group that went through River Spirit, a group of maybe 10, 12 students who went through together and went through kind of like a management program. But they came to us for the coursework, and then the casino would place them at various places to give them that whole casino experience, whether it's on the floor, whether it's dealing cards, or up in behind the walls in management, or a hotel, restaurant. Obviously, it came in handy as we continued to expand our casinos. So, until someone comes onto our campus, I think they'll get a different idea when they leave, because we have a lot of other people from other countries. There's a Tulsa Global Alliance. They just brought in some people a week ago from China, and we've had them from all around the country that come, and they bring them to our college because they want to see that, being the only tribal college in Oklahoma, they want to see what we are doing and what we're doing for our students, because all the tribal colleges, we talk about our culture and our language, which I don't speak the language. My dad did not speak it growing up. Okay, so but we are keeping the language alive. All of our students have to take the beginning Muskogee language, and so when they see that happening, on campus, and I think it makes a big impact. So, people can, there's always going to be those institutions that saying that, their standards are higher than ours or somebody else's, but until they get on our campus and they see what's going on, we have a very dedicated staff. My faculty are great. My support staff are great. The students are great. But it's an experience that our students have, because I spent 20 years in public ed before I took this position, from classroom teacher to superintendent, but this is the first time our students are actually a majority in the classroom instead of a minority, and they see Native instructors, they see Native staff, Native administrators, Native classmates, and it makes a big difference. I tell our students and I tell our staff, especially our staff, all the time, we all have the same family. Mm-hmm. We understand that, and we all teach the same students. So it's more. We like to say it's more of a family atmosphere but our students are successful there.
The advantage there for a kid in the classroom is, they understand each other. If they tell Indian jokes, you get it.
Right.
And the reference points and things like that, relating back to culture, both traditional and more modern, would make a ton of difference. I mean, when I was in school, I was the only Indian kid in the whole class, and I felt a bit intimidated, but I also had to fight back a bit. So. Didn't let anybody call me chief or anything.
Right, and that's something and that's something that I've learned a lot from being the tribal college, and the students have taught me a lot. Okay, because when I was a classroom teacher, I taught at a 99% African American community, and a lot of the parents within the community were saying, we need African Americans teaching our kids, not non-African American, and I never really understood that, because I thought I could teach anyone, and because I grew up in Oklahoma City and was always probably the only Native child in my classroom, and then when I became an administrator, I was in diverse districts, but then when I came to the tribal college and I mean, growing up, I would go to the stomp dances and go to what we would drive over, but I never got into that culture part and I knew I was Native, and I was proud of it, but I didn't understand all the other things around it until I came to the college, and even going to AHEC, being a member there, our school, those presidents have taught me a lot. They accepted me when I came in, but it's something that you got to live that experience.
Oh yeah, I kind of envy those people and my friends and coworkers who have had the chance to live that kind of life, or have it be a part of their life, and also the more dominant society. But I see a trend where a lot of our people are starting to want to pick that up again. I attend language classes now. I can get myself fed, and I can greet my elders.
Correct.
Yes. And it feels good for me, and I think I see a lot that kind of hunger among other people.
It is, and
so you're able to kind of help them now.
You know, what we experience here is the same as what the native population experienced. I went up this past year. I went up to El Salvik Tribal College in Barrow, Alaska.
Oh boy!
And but it's the same. It's the same philosophy and family there about wanting the language and the culture, and then still having as a college institution meeting the mainstream standards as well. And so we're trying to make that movement within HLC of getting more native peer reviewers on the committees. They've talked about at one time just doing accreditation, native accreditation committee, but that's a long process as well. I mean, in July will be my 10th year as president here, and we've been battling the same stuff from day one. As we're still talking about these issues, but the difference is we continue, and we take our students up to D.C. and they lobby and talk to our legislators about more funding for our tribal colleges. I mean, we receive some funding from our tribe, but state mainstream institutions receive funding from their local government. So, but we still need additional funding and facilities. So, being, like I said, 37 tribal colleges, we continue to battle that equal funding for us, because our students deserve the best, and so does our staff and faculty.
Just out of curiosity, and it has nothing to do with the subject, when you were in Barrow, what time of year was it?
Well, I guess I was in at a good time because it wasn't snowing, but it was frozen, and the boats could not get in to bring the whales in, and I did experience a different lifestyle. But then when you really look at it, they take care of their own, as when they would bring a well in, and they feed everybody in the community.
I saw that firsthand.
But it was an experience. And but as I go to different tribal colleges, they each have their own unique characteristic about it. Whether it's up in Northwest Indian College or Sitting Bull College or any of those other additional schools we've been to, they have their unique culture. But we all have the same goal. We're not competing against one another. The tribal colleges, we're working with one another.
Right. One more ridiculous question: Did you have lunch at Pepe's north of the border when you were in Barrow?
No, actually, the motel that we stayed at, there's only two places open at that time. It was the motel, and then there was another, but I don't recall that.
Okay.
There was a place right across the street from us, but it was shut down the majority of the time.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is they build themselves as the Mexican restaurant. Most northernmost Mexican restaurant.
That was the restaurant that was right across the street, because it was a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, that was it.
And so, but they were closed at the time we were there.
That's too bad. I had a burrito at Pepe's north of the border. Well, let's get back to business here now. The curriculum and your efforts are geared toward producing students who could find careers in the tribal sector, is the thing I read, I believe. Is that
well, I mean, you have, of course, our police science, was for our light horse, our gaming. Then we had our tribal services that students could receive those degrees and work for the tribe, which a lot of them do, or they also work for other tribes. And then our Native American Studies, students would take that and also would transfer. But now we've added the natural resource degree, and because we received some funding from USDA, and so we're trying to make a component of that degree more focused in that direction. so that we can possibly get more additional funding to hire faculty. And so we're trying to, other institutions are coming to recruit our students for the, when they come and ask us about this area. And so we got that degree. That's one thing that we kind of sit there and watch people come to us, and so we wanted to expand. And then like I said, the criminal justice, when you do the police science and you have to do the CLEAT certification, there's only one side in Oklahoma, so we went transition over to criminal justice, and that degree will transfer to a lot of the local institutions as well. And then, of course, the general studies, that's looking at all students, whether they wanted to work for the tribe or they wanted the specialty area. Mm-hmm. They want to come here and get their basics and get a solid foundation, and then move on and pursue other degrees options.
So I have a question on the criminal justice degree because of the switch, from, police science to criminal justice. Is it, so it can be spread out, or would you see maybe some people taking that criminal justice to move forward on, perhaps even working in like AG's office?
Well, the ones that are currently enrolled in the criminal justice will finish that program out. We just will not enroll any additional students. Okay, so we're going to shift that focus to the criminal justice area, and we're starting to try to get through some of the college fund. We had a grant also that would for internships, and so we're trying to place internships with students to give them an opportunity to go out, maybe to work in the court system. We've sent a couple over to the Light Horse, and they ended up hiring them full time. And so we're trying to see what the students are wanting and placing them there and giving those internships at the beginning of their career, so that instead at the end, because a lot of people do it at the end, and at the beginning we said you had at least 30 hours. Well, if you do 30 hours, you're halfway done, and what if you do an intern and you think, I don't like this area? So we kind of shifted that focus to the beginning to give it to them earlier to see if that's where they really want to pursue, because I believe I changed my major maybe about 5 times growing up, right? And so, so at trying to figure out what you always ask, what do you want to do when you grow up? Right? And so, some we're still trying to decide that, but that's okay. We just want them to have those opportunities.
The large part of going to college is having a campus experience. People, students look at, of course, the curriculum that they want to pursue and the direction they want to go, but they also want some campus life, like whether it's football teams or going to rallies and, social life kind of things. Now, we have seen steps in that direction for from the college in Muskogee Nation now. You got housing,
yes,
student union. So how are things coming along? How is that lifestyle, I guess, developing?
Well, part of your strategic plan is to offer the entire experience. Prior to when we first got our first building, okay, we still had our students were still staying on campus at OSU IT. Mm-hmm. If they wanted to eat lunch, breakfast, dinner, OSU IT. Right. If they needed their books, they had to go to that facility as well. It even got to we could teach the science classes, the lecture part in our building, but they had to do the lab work up at the other institution, and so we would have to shuttle students back and forth. I mean, it was running a bus, like every hour. And so as we started developing, once we got the second building, and we received some HUD funding through the tribe, and we received 2 HUD grants for the second building. And the first part was classrooms and a larger library, and a science lab. And then we waited around, and here comes the other grant that we applied for, and then that allowed us to have a bookstore, a small fitness center, and what I still call them cafeterias, right? And so and then we had housing earlier, but previous to that we started housing, but we still had to bus them up to the other campus for their other activities. So once all that came together, that's when we became to offer the entire experience. Our students stay on campus. Obviously, they could eat on campus, go to our library, go to our bookstore that has our books and our apparel items and things like that. And so they're getting that full experience, but then what else are you going to do with the students? After they get out of class. And so we started doing other activities. We put them in the basketball leagues over at the Dome, and then we started seeing if there was any interest in getting them to be organized athletics. So we tried about 4 years ago, to have a team to go to AHEC has a national tournament for all the tribal colleges, and we weren't successful in getting enough players. So then this past year we decided to do men and women, and so putting both in leagues. And we told them, I told them the same thing. You got to stay eligible, just like high school, okay, and go to class, and then let's participate. So we took the two teams up to Billings, Montana, to the conference. We actually took about 42 students up there with us to the conference, and then they stayed over for the basketball tournament. Our boys team or men's team, they came in second in their division, and our girls team, they competed, but it was a good experience for them. And so they're looking forward to next year's tournament. It's going to be in Santa Fe, and so they're already talking about getting ready for that. And so that's something that I would like to do, or kind of to start maybe the competing in basketball, because I know we have Native athletes. We have a lot of Native athletes within our Creek Nation boundaries that do not get that opportunity to participate on the next level, and I think we could. I would like to do that. Maybe softball, fast pitch. We have a lot of young ladies that play, right? And then
just see the festival and all the teams lined up.
But the deal that we have to do though is again, you just can't say we're going to start it tomorrow, because I had to have more housing, right? Because I got to have housing for athletes, to where I'm not going to kick out our non-athletes. That would not sit well.
Let me ask you this: are there any scholarships attached to any of this? Or are you thinking about the possibilities of something like that?
Well, we of course, the tribe made a commitment a long time ago about if you're Muskogee Creek, in theory, you can attend at no cost. And what it really is, that the students come in, they apply for their FAFSA and other scholarships, and what it's not picked up, then we help them with that part of it. If they're non-Creek, of course, there's a small scholarship, but they're responsible like any other student would be. And so, but if I would start athletics, you got to look at the finance part of it, because of the amount of scholarships you have to have, the additional staff, travel, and then who you're going to play. And I think we could be playing with the junior colleges here in Oklahoma. We could have a schedule, but it'll take that commitment. So any kind of tribe would say, here's X amount of dollars, start it, I would do that.
If only there was a men's fast pitch college league.
There we go.
A lot of people
absolutely, yes.
But that's a whole new can of worms.
Yes.
Let's see. We're getting down towards the end of our program here, but let me toss this one out to you now. What are your numbers here? What kind of enrollments do you have?
So when we started in 2004, we had 27 students and 2 classes.
Wow.
Okay, and in 2005, I was a regent at that time, and we just had to find places to meet on Creek Nation's campus, and so we started out with those just those 2 classes, and and 27 students to now we average about 200 students a semester. Now this summer we barely over 100, but that's a summer, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. But so we average about 200 students a semester, about 65 to 75 classes per semester, and so when we first started out, the average age of our students was about the age of 45, because it was employees coming from the tribe taking classes, and it's because we were doing the police science, flight horse, and then our gaming, so they were allowed to come over and take some classes. Well, then as we started coming along and getting our facilities, and for a lot of time, a lot of people didn't even know that we existed. I mean, even within our nation, and so as we started hosting the challenge boats and getting the elementary kids and junior high kids and the high school kids and their parents on campus, and then once we become a candidate for accreditation and our course transfer, then we started getting the students started coming. We started getting the more traditional students, the younger students coming out of high school now. That are one of the semesters we had, out of like 100 new students, 90 of them were directly out of high school, and so that tells us now that people are seeing us as an option to extend their education career, and so summertime now. Those traditional students, because we're still trimester, they take off the summers, and so and then plus we had a large graduating class of 54. So, but that's the numbers. Like I said, of those numbers, were 99% Native American, 90% Muskogee Creek, and our demographics of our staff are pretty similar. We have 54. Full-time employees. I believe I was about 10 or 11th employee hired, and now we have 54. So the college not only provides us education, it's creating jobs for Creek citizens, because of those 54, probably 40 of them are Muskogee Creek. And
now,
so,
I'm intrigued by those numbers. Forgive me for interrupting you here, but have they graduate classes been increasing over these past few years?
Yeah, they have gone up.
106.3 FM.
Most of them were in the 30 range, and then we hit the 40, and then now we're hitting the 50. And we're really anticipating, our largest enrollment has been about 242 students, and that's always in the fall. And so we're kind of anticipating, maybe with these new degrees, maybe 275, 280. And so because we're getting a lot of interest now, and so when other institutions are raising their tuition, and we've remained the same, and so, and plus the services that we offer. And so if my sons hadn't already graduated, they would have probably attended the institution, as a parent, because I tell parents when I talk to them, you'd be crazy not to send your son or daughter here. I mean, they're going to do well. There are courses transfer. They're going to, we take interest in them. And like I said, we're all in the same family. Sometimes they are our family members who are here. We've had some, and so, but that's good. Because our students leave, and sometimes we think we spoil them too much to an extent, because our staff, they do a lot for our students, and our students are very appreciative of the things they receive. But the stories we could tell about, I mean, we have people just show up, and they wouldn't do that at a mainstream institution. Okay. And it wouldn't happen, and so, but we give them that opportunity and work with them, because we know where they come from, and so that helps a lot.
Okay. Anything, Liz? Okay. Well, let me ask you now, in the last couple of minutes we have here to chat, real quickly, where do you go from here?
Where do we go as an institution? Well, it's like we asked earlier. We continue the like the accreditation, we just got accredited, but you're accredited for like a 10-year cycle, but you have another site visit after 4, which is coming up already in September of 2020. And then, so we'll continue looking at our degree programs, what we need to, or what we can offer. We still need to secure some funding for our third building, and we've already identified that building as being a STEM building. And so if we can get that going, and then that would open the doors for other programs. And so down the road, it's comforting to know that my grandkids will be able to attend our institution and get a quality education, and we'll have more degree program options for them.
Okay, yeah.
And so, but it's great to know that this is there for our Muskogee citizens, and that we're solid.
Okay.
We're solid.
All right, well, wow, I'm getting running dry myself here. Well, thank you, Mr. Robert Bible. He's president of the College of the Muskogee Nation, for spending time to give us an update. And we'll get rid of this outside interference, hopefully.
The Brew.
Okay. A little too early on that. We have some announcements to share, so Liz, why don't you kick us off?
Yes, the third annual Health and Wellness Run is going to be Saturday, May 25th. Races begin at 5 a.m. at the Muskogee Dome. You can contact Daniel Bear at 918-758-8519.
Free vegetable and flower seeds at the MCN Conservation District Housing Building, room 220. That's in housing 220. Tips, all kind of educational materials available, plus you get to pick up some seeds there. So if you've got a garden in your future here, that might be a nice start. Good price. Get a hold of the Conservation District at 549-2609.
The Muskogee Creek Nation Light Horse Police Department is hosting a summer safety camp June 4th through the 6th. It's for ages 13 through 15. Topics include drug awareness, first aid, and cultural awareness. You can contact them at 918-732-7813.
Okay, here's something I think that I probably would qualify for, the 2019 Senior Games. That's coming up this end of this month on Friday, May the 31st at the Omniplex here in Okmulgee. The games begin at 9:30 a.m. and run till 3, and you get all kinds of neat awards for participating and winning. So if you want some more information about how to be part of the Senior Games, try 918-732-7765.
Now, on the other side of that, Tribal TANF is hosting a youth cultural camp.
Oh, ouch.
With camp dates and sites in Mvskoke, Wilson, and Tulsa. They'll have cornhusk dolls, beading, basket making, and sewing. The ages are 11 to 18, and it's going to be 20 kids per camp, so if you're interested, and you might want to go ahead and contact Lauren Randall at 918-732-7985.
If you've got a community announcement like this, get a hold of us at Muskogee Media. We'll try and fit it in a program, give us plenty of time to work with it, too. Okay, we got about a minute or so left here in the show. Liz, what have you got up your sleeve for your work there?
I am actually working on a piece here soon. It's a sound piece that I hope to get on here soon over a bowling piece. Yes, we had a Muskogee Creek and Uchee get a scholarship for bowling, so I'm going to be doing that story here soon.
Cool. Now, I tried it once or twice, and had trouble getting my fingers in the ball and this kind of thing.
I still need rails.
And I think my score for the afternoon was something like 65 or something like that. A lot of gutter balls.
I'm decent at Wii bowling. That's about it.
Okay, well, we have come to the end of our program. We want to invite you to check out the Muskogee Media gift shop. Now, it's in the opening stages, a very soft opening, and it's developing its inventory. You might want to check that out. A lot of our T-shirts are in there. So if you've seen them around, that's one place to go, or you can come to our office and check with our marketing people there. Okay, that's about it for me. Anything else you want to kick around? Okay, well, let's see if we can't get out of here a few seconds early here. You've been listening to Muskogee Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. But